Chat. I want to take a quick poll now. How many of you came here to the Center for Art and Media in the train? Let's get a show of hands. How many of you came here in an airplane? Okay. How many of you would have liked to have come here in the Hyperloop? Come on, you know you want to. Up next, you're going to meet a guy who's working to make the Hyperloop reality. He is the innovative founder of Hyperloop Transportation Technologies, and they are working to make the Hyperloop reality through crowdsourcing the knowledge, the engineering, and the innovation that it takes to make this project happen. Please welcome the visionary CEO of JumpStart Fund and HTT Technologies, Dirk Ahlborn.
All right, good morning. So my name is Dirk Ahlborn, and I'm the CEO of Hyperloop Transportation Technologies. Well, and we are transforming transportation at the speed of sound. So who here actually knows what the Hyperloop really is? I'm going to test you guys later. Well, for everybody else, we have a video here that shows how it all started, where we are right now, and where it's going. So enjoy.
America's always been a nation of doers. We build things, we take risks, and we believe that if you have a good idea and are willing to work hard enough, you can turn that idea into a successful business.
Billionaire philanthropist Elon Musk has hinted at a new high-speed transport system that could put planes and trains out of business.
I have a name for it, which is called the Hyperloop.
So what's Hyperloop? Mr. Musk's plan: move people using a massive vacuum tube combined with a magnetic levitation system. Kind of like a Jetsons tunnel?
It's something like that, yeah.
Here's how he teased the idea in May at an All Things D conference.
It's a cross between a Concorde and a railgun.
It's called the Hyperloop. It's a system of giant suspended tubes. Riding within are capsules carrying people or freight travelling on cushions of air at speeds of up to 1,200 k's per hour, or roughly 1 kilometre every 3 seconds.
A tube that would be on pillars from Los Angeles to San Francisco, and inside there would be capsule cars that would be rocketed forward up to 700 miles an hour, and that there would be a fan on the front. Elon Musk basically says that this is the way of the future.
How would you like something that can never crash? It is immune to weather. It goes 3 or 4 times faster than the sort of bullet train, and it would cost you much less than an air ticket.
It will only cost to build this $6 or $7 billion. Compare that to the $65 billion for the current high-speed rail plans for California. He believes this is a viable, valuable alternative for mass transit between these two destinations.
Could something like the Hyperloop actually be the answer to super fast, environmentally friendly, high-speed travel between our busiest cities? So the gauntlet has been thrown down. A design document for a whole new, super cool way to travel. The only thing now, will someone pick it up and make the Hyperloop a reality?
There are some companies that are forming to try to make the Hyperloop happen, and I encourage them. I think that's great. I'm super focused on Tesla and SpaceX, and to small amount on Solar City. So that basically completely uses up my brain.
Tesla founder Elon Musk proposed this new technology called Hyperloop, and it's being developed right now in Playa Vista, here in this hangar behind me.
The only resistance would be the air in front of the capsule, which we move to the back by using a compressor.
Company Hyperloop has teamed up with the students to create this tube technology that's designed to connect cities up to 400 miles apart.
Dirk Ahlborn says it's safer and more efficient than the railroad.
Well, the system is completely computerized. So you optimize the system, and then you actually have the humans to monitor it. In railroads, most accidents were all human factors. Plus, a lot of the derailments are actually happened because something's on the track. So we're in a closed system. We're completely managed by a computer system. There's no human factor that can actually create those issues. We actually plan on seeing the first Hyperloop very, very soon starting.
Can you imagine and walk us through what it might be like to travel at the speed of sound?
it's not going to be much different than sitting in an airplane, actually. Obviously, for us, it's very important to make it as good of an experience as possible. So this is an independent organization that has formed. We have 170 engineers, scientists, and really great professionals with amazing backgrounds.
The race is on. Elon Musk's vision for a high-speed passenger pods known as the Hyperloop is one step closer to becoming reality this morning. One of the known companies competing to capitalize on Musk's proposal, announcing today it has struck a deal with landowners in Central California to build the first full-scale Hyperloop along a 5-mile stretch along I-5, with construction set to begin in 2016.
Let's bring in Dirk Ahlborn, who is the man who runs the Hyperloop Transportation Technologies team, which is announcing this deal with Quay Valley, California. Dirk, tell me about this deal and really when you expect this Hyperloop, this 5-mile stretch, to be finished.
Quay Valley is supposed to be breaking ground beginning of 2016. That's when we will be start working on our development. So we will be starting ground at the same time. At this moment, we expect to be done by 2018.
Hyperloop now appears one step closer to reality. Starting next year, that theory will turn into a groundbreaking in Quay Valley, Kings County off of I-5. A developer there has just committed a big chunk of his private land toward the project. It's a 5-mile loop that would take visitors through a planned entertainment district.
There's going to be a test track. Elon Musk has announced that he's going to build a small-scale test track. It's a necessary step for us to be building a full-scale version, and Quay Valley is a sustainable model town of the 21st century, so it's a perfect fit. They're expecting over 10 million visitors per year, so we will actually be able to generate revenues very, very fast.
The company plans to go public later this year.
We want to do a public offering. We want to give our community that's supporting us the possibility to own parts of the company. We want to make sure that the people that have been helping building the company and this technology are able to participate in the investment, in the fundraising, and the upside of the company.
With their contributions to Hyperloop, these students from around the world now have stock options in the company. But they say they're not in it for the money.
As a student, I start to feel like I'm in part of some great career that might change the world.
Will the Hyperloop kill the railroad?
The Hyperloop is going to do to the US what the railroads did in the 1800s. So it will change the way we live. It's possible today, it's based on existing technologies, and it's the right time, it's the right moment to finally get something doing like this.
Is it visionary? In 30 years' time, will you and I be sitting on our rocking chairs going, well, we talked about it then, and he did it?
So you think this is possible? This is not just...
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely, yeah.
For all those who said this is just a neat little thing to draw on a cocktail napkin, these guys are saying it will become reality.
All right. So those were basically, those were basically 3 years put together in 4 or 5 minutes. Well, first of all, sorry for the guys in the lower end. I saw all your necks are, must hurt a little bit. So, to reiterate, what is a Hyperloop? So imagine a capsule filled with people hovering inside a tube and moving really, really fast from one point to the other. The capsule is levitating. We actually found a magnetic levitation technology, which is a passive magnetic levitation technology, that was developed by Lawrence Livermore National Labs, which is one of the leading research labs in America. Passive magnetic levitation means that it doesn't need any electricity to levitate. It's magnets and an aluminum rail that creates the levitation. And this system is absolutely safe because it doesn't require any electricity. Safety is one of the main concerns that you have when you build a Hyperloop. So we actually developed a new material, and we called it vibranium, just like Captain America's shield for the nerds in the audience. And vibranium basically is a composite material, but it's a smart material. It's capable of sensing structural integrity, pressure differences, and temperature. When we're building the capsule, we're building it in a double layer so that people are always safe. If one of the layers is damaged, you're still safe in the others. Because remember, you're inside a low-pressure environment. Basically, we're taking all the air out of the tube so that the capsule very similar to an airplane that goes into high altitudes, can go much faster, with much less energy. So you have vacuum pumps along the track, and that's all they're doing. So the whole system is on pylons, so it's not underground, but it's above ground. And well, using pylons has the advantage that first, it's cheaper. We only need to acquire the land where the pylons are standing. Second, you still get from one side to the other. And we are capable of integrating the latest earthquake technology. This is probably the most important part. It's completely green. And it's not the most important part because, you know, we all want to be green, but we're using alternative energy to solve one of the biggest problems. You see, there is no rail line, no metro in the world that's profitable. Because of the fact that we are using solar, wind, kinetic energy through regenerative braking, and in some climates even geothermal, we're producing more energy than we're actually using, which allows us to have very low operational costs. And on something like Los Angeles to San Francisco, we would be profitable within 8 years. And that's something that doesn't exist today. But why should we do this? This is why. Traffic. Maybe not a big problem in Karlsruhe, not so sure, but where I live in Los Angeles, this is every single day. Traffic takes up most of our time, most of our lives. We spend a lot of time in traffic, a lot of time that we could be productive, a lot of time away from the people that we really care about. Actually, traffic is so important that's based on where we live, we decide where we work. Based on where we live, we decide who we date. Because if he or she lives on the other side of the city, it's probably not going to work out. And then there's this. Traveling sucks. I don't think there's anybody, well, actually one time someone raised their hand, but that really enjoys traveling. You enjoy getting to the destination, but the process of traveling, terrible. We can do much better. Well, then we have that. Beijing on a sunny day. On a bad day, you're not even able to see your hand in front of your face. Now you might say this is China and India, that's where we have those problems, but in real, this is a problem that we have everywhere. Everywhere in the world, pollution kills people. Pollution kills you. It takes away, if you live in Europe, roughly, I think 14 months of your life, thanks to pollution. Now, yes, of course, transportation is only part of that, but I think it's a good enough reason to actually go and work on that. The railway industries, literally a dinosaur industry. They haven't changed for quite some time. We're actually building old infrastructure, very expensive, when we could build new one, much more efficient. These are railroad tracks. The difference between, the distance between those tracks is 1 meter 43.5. Anybody here knows why? Nobody? The Roman carriage. So basically, we're building new infrastructure today based on the butts of 2 horses. If you would take those tracks and we would enlarge them, we would be able to transport more goods faster and safer, and people, of course, as well. And this is what I said earlier. So railroads, metros don't make money. Public transportation relies heavily on government subsidies. The Los Angeles Metro, to give you an example, makes 76 cents per passenger, and $2.50 are coming from taxpayer subsidies. Now, you tell me who takes a metro in Los Angeles, and, well, kind of true, but even in New York, where everybody takes the subway, they're losing 82 cents per passenger, which sums up to $2.2 billion. And the German railways, for example, they're costing 22 billion every single year. And that's something that we have all over the world. Public transportation takes a big chunk from our household budgets and your taxpayer money. But how would our lives be if we would have a Hyperloop? Well, when it comes to airports, we actually have a big problem right now. We're building more and more. And they're fairly close to the city, so these airports could be connected with each other. They could be terminals, right? Rather than just different airports. You could build them even further out because you can be there in minutes. When we talk about freight, we can now have containers come from Asia within hours rather than weeks. We could deliver in a country like Germany everywhere within an hour, anything. So it's an on-demand economy, on-demand assembly. We could live wherever we want. We could live in one place and work in another. When it comes to larger cities like Los Angeles, Beijing, Shanghai, Mumbai, we can have satellite cities 150 kilometers away, and people can be in the city center within 10 minutes, live in a nicer place and work in another, right? If you want to buy a house in Los Angeles where you don't risk to be shot in the front yard, you have to spend $1 million. Here, you could actually live in a nicer place and probably only with a real estate difference pay for the whole development of something like the Hyperloop. But how are we going to do this? Well, turns out the technology is not the problem. We know how to build pylons, we know how to build tubes, we know how to create a vacuum inside those tubes. This is a picture of the CERN Hadron Collider in Switzerland. And those tubes actually have a much higher vacuum than we use. And the company responsible for that vacuum is actually part of our team. We bet on alternative energy, which is, I would say, a safe bet. It's very similar to the development of the silicon chip. It's getting cheaper and cheaper every year and better every year. So from that point of view, it has been around for quite some time. But we do something completely different. We're building a company in a different way. I'm sure you all are familiar with these companies. They all have something in common. They all are failures. Then there are these companies. They all have something in common as well. All of these companies at one time of the history kind of were in trouble and switched over and incorporated something called crowdsourcing. Some of these companies have more than 50% of their innovation coming from the outside. Lego, for example, was almost bankrupt. They switched the CEO, the new CEO incorporated crowdsourcing, and today it's one of the most successful toy companies out there. And still today, if you are interested in proposing a new Lego product, you go on the website, you submit your idea. If it gets enough votes, Lego management takes a look at it. But when it comes to trains, metros, this is where it normally happens, behind closed doors. Well, we do something different. We call it crowdstorming. And crowdstorming, you have, well, we work with our community, we work with you, we work with everybody. And people have the possibility to join the team, but mostly we ask questions. We question everything. So if you would redesign transportation today, how would it be? What are the things that we need to solve, right? And things like, do we need a ticket? And not only do we need a paper ticket, but if I find a way to make more money the more the passenger rides, then the ticket becomes negative. Then I would use the ticket only to adjust demand, right? I'm thinking about Video games, for example. When I was a kid, I had to buy them. They were super expensive. In today's world, video games are mostly free. But video game companies are actually making more money than ever before. Or when I look at our business plan, and I see that we're going to be spending billions of dollars, literally, in pylons. I'm thinking, well, what can we do with those pylons? So if I come to you and I say, here, 200 pylons, they're yours. What are you going to do with them? And it's just asking that question that makes a difference. You get some crazy ideas, you get some brilliant ideas, things like, let's make them into beehives. Let's use them as vertical gardens. Or there's a German technology where we can actually produce water out of air humidity to be exact, by using the same components that we're using for the Hyperloop. Or actually figuring out what is the big problem. Right? As I said earlier, the blue ocean, the big thing to solve, is not only moving people really fast, but the big problem is actually to build a system that makes economic sense. So how can we build something that people are going to be using every single day? I think it was Jens earlier talking about the toothbrush effect, right? So that's exactly the point. We need to build something that changes our lives. And not just something that, yeah, substitutes an airplane, cool. But how can I build something that you use several times a day? If it takes you an hour and a half to get to the station, you will very likely not, even if it only takes you 36 minutes to get from LA to San Francisco, or from Berlin to Munich. So we need to figure out the first and the last mile issue. We need to figure out how to place this into the system. How is everything going to play together? And that's where we use the community. We're building ecosystems. So we're doing digital innovation challenges. We don't believe that we are the best innovators. We think that if we give the opportunities, then other entrepreneurs come up with solutions and build businesses on top of what we can offer. Passenger experience is one of the most important things for us. So, and not only making it the best experience ever, but also figuring out how can we monetize on it? How can we make it better and at the same time generate income for the transportation companies? So one of the projects that we're working on is called Augmented Windows, where we use head tracking to see where people are looking in normal screens and are now simulating in actual windows. So you could imagine that you're inside a Hyperloop or maybe inside a subway, and now between the stations you're actually going through Jurassic World, Terminator Land. For you it's an experience, for the transportation company it's an income. Here's how it's going to look, more or less. So why are we working this way? Why are we using crowdsourcing? Why are we doing crowdstorming? Well, everybody, when they talk about the Hyperloop, they normally talk about Elon Musk and say it's an Elon Musk idea. But it turns out we have been thinking about traveling inside a tube for quite some time. already in 1870, there was a first line in New York where they actually built a station and a first track. They were moving a little capsule inside this track and wanted to connect New York and San Francisco. Obviously, it didn't happen, but the attempt was there. The first patent was done in 1904 by Robert Goddard, one of the most famous rocket scientists. In the 1960s, the Secretary of Transportation of the US said that tube travel would change the way Americans live and travel. And they had actually had two projects that they were financing. The Jetsons had the same idea. Switzerland, in the 90s, there was a project called Swiss Metro, actually very similar to what we are doing, and doable from a technical level, but mostly very expensive. The Simpsons, and then there was Elon. So when Elon Musk proposed the Hyperloop as an alternative to the California high-speed rail, I was part of a non-profit incubator that was funded by NASA and was a little bit in trouble. So we were looking at new ways in how we could help the entrepreneurs. And we came up with a concept of a crowd-powered incubator. So you see, we're basically doing everything online today. You get your dry cleaning online, you get your groceries online, you find your boyfriend, girlfriend online. In America, you can even get divorced online. But when it comes to building a business, it's you with a buddy, a friend, sitting in a bar, drinking something and writing things on a napkin. And then you start working. 6 months later, you realize that nobody actually wants your product, or that maybe advertising isn't the best way of making money because you need millions of users. But how if you would have 500,000 people, maybe even just 50, that are as passionate as you about the same thing and that help you? That give you their honest opinion, give you their ideas, their connections. You would be able to build a better company. So we built this platform. And we went out in beta in August of 2013, around the same time as Elon proposed this project. And we said, hey, you don't want to do it? Can we try? So we put the project onto the platform and asked, should we do this? And not only did the community say, you should be doing this, but they said, I want to do this. I want to be part of this. So we incorporate the company, and we said, everybody who would like to join, please apply. If you want to work in exchange, we had a minimum of 10 hours per week in exchange for stock options, join us. We got 200 applications, got a team together of around 100 engineers, and started working on the feasibility study. We finished the feasibility study at the end of 2014. Today, the company is over 800 people strong. We have 550 individuals and roughly 50 companies, and some of the largest companies in the world. So we realized this was a huge project. Not the technology, that's not the problem, but you have to deal with governments, you have to convince people. This is normally something that's being done by a country, not by a company. So we realized we had to do more. We had to build a movement, not just a company. So, and after we announced our feasibility study, of course now there's other companies as well trying to do the same thing, and that's part of the movement, that it just doesn't just depend on us. That's fine. Why am I telling you this? Well, first of all, if you want to join, I want you to join the right one. But I think it's also very interesting to see, because a lot of these companies are using, all of them actually, traditional methods. And still, we're bigger, we're moving forward, we're thinking about the real problems. So I think it's very exciting to see how this new way is completely reshaping how we build companies. So as I said, we have 520 individuals, 550 actually, and 50 companies, and things like Oerlikon Leibold, actually now Leibold Vacuum. They're the inventor of the vacuum pump. We have Reflect, another German company, VR, AR. We We work with Anomaly, one of the 5 top marketing companies in the US, and many, many more, Microsoft, Amazon. And these are not just a couple of guys on a chat room. These are amazing people. If guys that must people that worked at SpaceX, Boeing, Tesla, Airbus, all over the world, Apple, Facebook. So normally when you work on something like this, when you work in a train company, you actually have problems of getting talent. Right? The best people don't want to work for you. They don't want to work on a train. Well, we get 5 new applications every single day. And not only people that want to work with us, but they're willing to bring capital. They're willing to bring their own passion to the project. So one of the most important things that I've learned, and I think that most of the people here, entrepreneurs, is actually that if you ask, people help you. We wanted to show that you don't need a lot of funds, you don't need a lot of money to make big things happen. And I think it's amazing to have all these people working for passion, right? If you're a CEO of a company and you know that your people are still going to be there even if you can't pay them tomorrow, that's amazing. Plus, they say the best people are already working somewhere else. This way, we can make sure that they work somewhere else, but they can also work with us. So now we're getting ready to build. We filed our building permits in Quay Valley, California, which is in Kings County, in the middle between Los Angeles and San Francisco. And we did our mapping, surveying. We're now doing the environmental studies. And we hope to break ground later this year. We also signed an agreement with the country of Slovakia. And we're now looking at a local transportation system. I think that if someone tells you you can't do something, it just means that they haven't figured out how to do it. It doesn't mean that you can't figure it out. Things often are actually much simpler than you would think. You just have to work, and you have to be open and work with people, get their input. Thank you, and well, 2019 is when we expect to be open to the public, so you're all welcome. Thanks.